Hi, everybody. I'm Riccardo Bosticco, and together with Michele Mignogna, I'm part of the ITSS Verona Political Economy and Energy Security team. Today, Michele and I are very pleased to introduce you Dr. Cyril Widdershoven. Dr. Widdershoven is an expert of the MENA region and founder of Verocy, a consultancy agency for international investments based in the Netherlands. He covered and covers several positions in leading think tanks and academic contexts. Dr. Widdershoven holds a PhD in war studies from the King's College London and is a specialist of Middle East geopolitics, oil and gas, geopolitical risk analysis, and defense. Given his expertise, our team decided to invite Dr. Widdershoven to discuss the energy strategy pursued by the Gulf states in the context of the current war in Ukraine. We think it is a very relevant topic, considering how the Gulf states promote themselves as leader in the green energy transition, but at the same time, they are embedded in a very fragmented geopolitical situation, and they are also among the main exporters of oil and gas. So, Dr. Widdershoven, thank you very much for joining us. I would say, without further ado, we can kickstart with our questions. So, we have underlined that despite the OPEC countries having the largest fossil energy stocks, representing slightly less than 50% of the total oil production in the world, they will not fill the gap left by the Russian energy supplies to Europe and other major clients. So first of all, we are wondering, why are OPEC countries refraining from international solidarity to lower oil prices? Is it only because, as it is usually said, low oil prices are the first enemy of renewable energies, or according to you, are there any geopolitical considerations that need to further be considered?
Thank you. It's and. So as always, it's not that easy. The main underlying reasons that OPEC is refraining from, let's say, okay, what we then see as solidarity related to the Ukraine-Russia issue, the military invasion of the Ukraine by Russia. When we look at OPEC, the usual answer that you get is either we are not only OPEC, we are OPEC plus. So that includes Russia, several former Soviet Union countries and some others. So we have a commitment to OPEC plus. Okay, then I would say OPEC plus it's not an international organization. It has no foundations or no legal framework. So if you would like to choose sides, you are more than able to do that. At the same time, then, as we have seen when CNBC the journalist was asking the Saudi Minister of Energy, why is OPEC not choosing sides, or why is OPEC not improving their oil exports? The very well quoted statement of the Saudi Minister of Energy was that OPEC is not a political entity, but it's a market-orientated organization. And he also referred that even during when OPEC members were fighting each other, Iraq, Iran, or the crisis in 2007 when Iran plus Hugo Chavez from Venezuela wanted to do something else, OPEC was still keeping to be the independent, non-political entity, which in reality, political researchers would say that's okay. In plain English, it's a lot of crap, because oil and gas, energy is politics is geopolitics, and you are influencing whatever with either producing more or producing less. So where we are right now is that OPEC is slightly choosing sides. Yeah, they have a main reorientation on Asia. So China is really leading their production strategy. Russia and Saudi are still reasonably friendly, while at the same time Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman and President Biden are not, let's say, friends, but either frenemies. Keep in mind, Biden did not call Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman up till now, which is, even that he's the Crown Prince, so he's not leading Saudi Arabia, everybody knows he is leading Saudi Arabia, and if you would like to talk to Saudi, you talk to Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Simple. So there are several geopolitical issues, and at the same time, Saudi plus the UAE do not want to make the mistake they made before in the 1980s, 1990s, and even in the 21st century, that when prices are supposedly extremely high, that they will increase their production, and that will result in that everybody is trying to increase production because they want to gain some extra cash before the prices are going down, and then prices are going to go down, not to 8 or minus 35, but let's say to 60 or 50 dollars per barrel. And for most OPEC producers, a line between 65 and 85 dollars per barrel is what they need. Even that you could make the case again, what do they need? Do they really need that level of prices, or would they like to have it because Arab producing economies are rather flexible in their budgeting. When the prices are high, they spend it on everything, including investment in Russia or China or the US or Turkey, or on 8-star plus holiday resorts in the Red Sea, or major sporting arenas in Jeddah or whatever. So there is a reasonable flexibility in what they need and what they want. 100 to 110 dollars per barrel. Yes, we think it's high. In reality, I would say it's not even reaching the levels that it could reach. Prices are also high because all the other prices for consumers are high, and OPEC is reasonably right in the fact that, should we blame OPEC for high oil prices, or should we blame the Italian government or the Dutch government or the Germans, because they gain more from oil and gas than OPEC. So they are keeping to their strategy officially because they do not want to do anything else. I am more and more getting worried about the fact that maybe they are not even able to improve their production. We all say, yeah, okay, OPEC still has 3.5 to 4 million barrels per production capacity. Well, I don't see it. Yeah, so it's also so if you would put 2 million barrels per day extra right now, which would bring the price to what, to 90, 95. So you and me would be still paying €2 something for a liter. It also could result that they are not able to do that for longer than 4, 5, or 6 weeks. So if they need to do it 6 months or maybe a year, and you are not able to, then okay, why do we need to look at OPEC if they are not able to? Yeah, so there is also a potential fear inside of Saudi, the UAE, Iraq, etc., not to show the cards they have, and now they just say, no, we keep to the quotas we have agreed upon, and that's in the price. So do not talk about the price and do not ask us for more. Or if you would like to have more, you need to talk to us and not talk about us, but you really need to talk to us. And that means Biden needs to call Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman or call Crown Prince Mohammed bin Zayed. And the best would be to call them both and step in the plane and go there. But okay, that's not going to be done.
Clear. Thank you, Cyril. Moving forward, I would like you to explore a little bit more also the domestic variables that may be at stake here. So MENA hydrocarbon exporters can also be considered as rentier state. Probably they are rentier state par excellence. And in fact, historically, these countries have put in place economic reform programs only when oil prices substantially dropped. As soon as these prices rise again, all those programs were backslided. So I wonder whether the current strategy of keeping prices high, also considering what you said before, can also be a strategy to avoid economic reforms that maybe have also political consequences, and so maintain the political power as solid as possible. So said differently, are there any internal reasons, internal variables not to reduce prices in this context?
You are right, of course, because you are from Italy, so you know Giacomo Luciano, rentier states. Yeah. In history, that was the case. And yes, you are right that the real economic diversification plans or strategy, Saudi Vision 2030 or Abu Dhabi 2030 or 2040, whatever, came up when prices were going down and the financial situation of those rentier states was under pressure. At this moment, I am not seeing any change in their economic diversification strategies. They are continuing with the programs that they have set. Well, at the same time, they are putting an increasingly amount in, okay, what they then call also economic diversification, but that's energy transition related investments, solar, wind, hydrogen, green hydrogen, blue hydrogen, gray hydrogen, whichever, ammonia. So yes, they are still having, maybe some of them have the mindset we need to have high oil prices to push forward with our economic diversification. When you look at international financial markets, they don't need to have high oil prices because money on international markets is almost for free. And you also see that when there is an Islamic bond issue or a green bond issue, or they do an IPO, it's oversigned 5, 8, or 30 times. So people are more than willing to put money in the region, where I feel that they want to keep the prices reasonably high, because I am still not thinking that 100 or $103 per barrel is extremely high. Yeah, but this gives them an opportunity to make a hell of a lot of money each day. Yeah, so they are more than able to reap the rewards of the natural resources, get that money into their economy, stay interesting for the world, because look, if prices are at $8 per barrel, the Arab world is less interesting because they do not have enough money, so it's not enough interested. Yeah, okay, for defense, yeah, arms transactions, investment schemes, IPOs, etc., real estate, all of those things. So they are more than happy with a price that's okay, higher than 65, lower than 150, yeah, because then it becomes tricky. For their investment, for their sovereign wealth funds, because they are growing exponentially. Yeah, and keep in mind, crude oil money or LNG or gas money goes into the sovereign wealth funds, and that's a geopolitical powerhouse. Because if you own shares in Shell and BP and Volkswagen and Groups and Saipem and Eni and Edison, etc., Rome and Berlin are gonna listen to you a little bit more than if you only invested in, I do not know which startup in Beijing or Shanghai. Yeah, so they are also using the extra money, and especially in several main OPEC producers, there's this use bulge. So there's an oncoming tsunami of young people, men and women. Yeah, even that the West does not recognize it still, but in Saudi, women are able to work and drive cars and walk on the street and do not need to wear a hijab the whole time. Yeah, they need to get a job. So that is because they do not have SMEs, they do not have a major other industry than oil and gas, and oil and gas is capital intensive, but it's not labor intensive. So they need to put in place new SME investments or whatever, or government related, to get these people to have a job, and a job at a reasonable salary. Yeah, okay, and that costs money, and that will cost money for the next 10 to 15 years, because also wind and solar are not bringing you the jobs. The main jobs for wind and solar are in Asia, and we import the bloody things and put them on our roofs. Yeah, and that's also in the Arab world. So that's why they are now, even Saudi wants to invest in its 1.3 trillion mining sector. There for $1.3 trillion under the ground that needs to get out of the ground. Yeah, steel, copper, gold, lithium, all of that, and also for that they need to have the cash. Are there still rentier states? Yes. Is Italy a rentier state? Maybe not as big as Saudi, but okay, the influence of Eni and Saipem and Edison, etc., is substantial. The Netherlands was a rentier state. Norway is 100% rentier state. So rentier state is not always a negative thingy. Okay, when you put your money in ice cream parlors and shopping malls and skiing resorts in the middle of the Saudi desert, I would say, okay, some people did not learn yet from former mistakes or a world championship in Doha. Qatari do not play football. It's too hot and they don't want to play football. Simple, yeah? Qatari national team is half Brazilian and half whatever color they could find and give a nationality. Do they need $100 per barrel? No, they don't. Yeah, will it constrain economic diversification? Economic diversification in the first 10, 15, 20 years or 30 years cost more than that it brings. So you need cash. Are they doing the right diversification? Well, then I would say, do you have another 8 hours? Because that discussion is going to be longer than half an hour.
Thank you very much, Cyril. So let's now get into a little bit more details. In the past, arguments for economic diversification in the context of energy were motivated by prices and market volatility. Nowadays, diversification is needed to speed up a green transition and the need to create new jobs. We are aware of the sustainable programs announced by some of the Gulf states, first and foremost by Prince bin Salman, and we wonder if this is the case. What is your overall idea of the Gulf states' energy strategy and their advancing of green policies? Do they have any competitive advantage according to you?
Yes, even that most assessments that I'm reading about the Middle East are always a little bit skeptical. And I do understand why, yeah, because history has learned us to be rather skeptical about major new strategies in the region, yeah, because the outcome is sometimes much less than that we thought. Renewable energy, solar, wind, hydrogen is taking off in a major way. Yeah, so they are definitely putting their money where their mouth is. And so is it also functional? Well, okay, solar and Middle East, 100%, because the sun is almost shining there 24 hours a day. Okay, not during the night, but there's more sun there than here. Yeah. The sun intensity is also very attractive, because what people sometimes do not understand, that the intensity of the sun that is shining is making up if you are making a profit or if you are not making a profit. And they have the main advantage, they have the whole year sun, and they have, and that's very important, they have empty spaces. Where Europe, yeah, the Netherlands, we are renewable, every house needs to be totally net zero. I do not know what else, but we do not have the space. It's a very simple. Wind and solar are never going to be enough in the Netherlands to keep us flying. Yeah. Saudi, the UAE are definitely the right place. Egypt also, empty, yes, there are 128 million Egyptians, but strangely enough, they do not live in the desert, they live in cities. So space plus sun is there. For Saudi, wind is also an option because there is enough wind in major parts of the kingdom to put major wind projects. Now, in theory, they can produce a hell of a lot of electricity. In reality, then the real issue is, and that's where mainstream renewable zealots are sometimes going wrong. If you produce it in country A, but you need to bring it to country B, and let's say that's Italy, so from Italy to Saudi, flying, that's easy, but to bring electricity to there, that's very long, and how longer it is, how more electricity or power you lose during transportation. So that's also where the Arabs are very smart. They see they have space, they also see they have money, and they have the option for renewables. They went into hydrogen, the hype of the 21st century, I'm calling it, because everybody believes in hydrogen, except the people that understand what hydrogen is. Now, they have the capacity to become a major hydrogen producer. A, because they have the gas, gray hydrogen. They have renewable opportunities, so green hydrogen, blue hydrogen you also can do, and they have the willingness to do it. The major issue for them now is to find a market, not a country, but a market, because there is a major difference between a market. Those are clients that want to pay for something and they want to get it, and a country that says, yes, we are going to import hydrogen. Okay, but if you do not have hydrogen, or you do not have the transport infrastructure to bring it from A to B or to your clients, you can produce hydrogen, but you're not going to do anything. So in potential, the region is a potential OPEC 2.0, but then for hydrogen and for renewables. The underlying risk is it's the same region again, and hydrogen plus electricity are not going to bring them the jobs. Hydrogen is again capital intensive, but it's again not labor intensive. And if you need to bring 20 million new jobs or 6 million, it's not going to be hydrogen. It's not going to be wind. It's not going to be solar, because you build it and that's it. So are they able to put in place the projects that they are planning? Yes, they are. Is it going to be as cheap as everybody says, including IRENA or the IEA or the EIA or whoever, or your own research groups in Italy? Renewables in the next couple of years are going to be much more expensive than before, because renewables entered into the commodity sector. It's not anymore just a thing, it's becoming a commodity, and they are going to be hit by the same commodity issues as the rest of the economy. aka the demand for metals and minerals, etc., that they will need, is much higher than the current world production. And then you get the commodity issue. Demand is higher than supply, prices will go up. Prices will go up, interest is already up. There are going to be major delays. Are they going to be delayed in the Middle East? I don't think so, because they're friendly with China and they still have good relations with Russia. Is Europe going to be delayed? We are going to be delayed. Is America going to be delayed? Yes, they are. Yeah. So again, Middle East for renewables is, even in geopolitical sense, the right place, because they have the right links. And they already have been acquiring mining companies in Africa for metals and critical minerals. Yeah. So they have already prepared themselves for the issues that that Europe is now seeing. Well, some analysts were stating, look, if everybody is going for the same product, the product will become scarce. So you need to make sure it's your product. Yeah. So that is definitely a positive in the negative developments that we are seeing. Where I still have major doubts is about all of these very optimistic, very rosy reports about the cost of producing electricity in the Middle East. Yeah, if we look at the cost of 1 kilowatt solar in Dubai or in Saudi, it's almost for free. But the analysts do not understand that the investor that is doing it in the UAE is a Saudi state-owned company, and the one that is doing it in Saudi is the Dubai or the Abu Dhabi based state-owned company. Yes. So they are taking losses which are not being presented on paper.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, we are running out of time, so we have just got less than 3 minutes left.
Okay.
So I will proceed with the last question. But first of all, I would like to thank ITSS Verona, but in particular, Mr. Widdershoven, for your insightful answers. It was a very pleasure to have you here. So very quickly, do you think that imposing full sanctions on Russian energy exports would increase the possibility of creating more solid ties with the MENA region, or would hinder even the possibility of such cooperation? I mean, between the European Union on one side and the MENA region on the other side?
Very quickly then, I think in the first period after that, we would put sanctions on Russia. No real changes in the relationship between the EU and the Middle East will happen. If the Middle Eastern producers see an opportunity or an advantage to reopen discussions on energy, including renewable energy, so it needs to be a win-win situation. There are some opportunities that could support a rapprochement between the EU and the Middle East. But keep in mind, energy, it's not only the things that is on the mind of the Arab rulers, it's also geopolitical power, and they are almost like elephants. They never forget how we acted, let's say, 5, 8, 10 years ago during the Arab Spring. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Widdershoven. It was a pleasure to meet you and to have this nice conversation. I wish you a very nice day.
Thank you. Okay.
Have a nice day.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.